The idea of this last part of this morning session is a brief presentation of the SHAPE ID Horizon 2020 project, which Catherine and Christian will be presenting. So please come forward and introduce this new project, which is being presented as something which has grown from this INTREPID cost action.
And this is a new Horizon 2020 grant that has been funded and started at the beginning of February this year and will run for 2.5 years. And as you see, the logos there on this slide, it involves a number of people from the INTREPID cost action. It's led by Trinity College Dublin, who have been represented at our previous meetings by Doris Alexander and Maureen Burgess. And our PI is Jane Ohlmeyer, who is the director of the Trinity Long Room Hub, which is their Institute for Advanced Studies in the Humanities. So this automatically starts to introduce another set of disciplines into our dialogue. The other partners within the collaboration are Carlo Sessa, who you'll have met at previous INTREPID meetings, and he's joining us later this week. So he may also talk a little bit about this. Christian Pohl, who's joining me in this presentation this morning from ETH Zurich. And we're delighted that Bianca Vieni, whom some of you will know from previous meetings at INTREPID, who's also undertaken some of the STSMs, she's now working with Christian in Zurich. We have other colleagues in Poland and Jack Spappen, who is a consultant working in the Netherlands, who I'm sure might be known to some of you for his work on evaluation and research impact. So it's great to be one of Helena's prompts in her discussion is that we need to think of ways to continue INTREPID. So this is one form in which we are continuing. We are blessed with an incredibly efficient project manager for this project called Diryn Wallace. And I'm sure Diryn never sleeps because she has just done so much work in the last 6 weeks. We now have a website which is being launched today, and I think she's going to have a Twitter presence as well today. And I'm very grateful to her for preparing these slides. So forgive me, I'm not very familiar with these slides, but let me just take you through SHAPE ID. Again, we know about the rhetoric of interdisciplinarity. These are quotations from the European Commission. And placing the focus on social sciences and humanities, the arts and humanities, looking at how we mainstream these within the European Commission's research activities. Stop looking so skeptical, Olivia, I can see you. And so we've had a number of evaluation exercises conducted by the Commission in relation to Horizon 2020, looking specifically at the integration. Now, they use the acronym Social Science and Humanities. Jane Ohlmeyer is very keen that we don't forget the arts, so we talk about the arts, humanities and social sciences. So our acronym is ASH, I think. But the Commission is telling us that they're seeing a gradual increase in social science and humanities flagged in these funded projects. But nevertheless, and we've seen apparently a growth from 71% in 2014 to 86%. So this is showing an increase in the involvement of SSH partners in the projects that are being funded. However, what we're still seeing is a very unbalanced process of disciplinary integration. So, hello. I'm afraid I cannot. I didn't design these slides, but these are reports that are brought out by the Commission every year. So I should imagine they're on their website. If you can't find them, I can ask Diryn to point them. I have the latest one, I think, and you have them. Yeah. Yeah, so something for the discussion maybe later. So no, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. We've talked about this paradox of interdisciplinarity, where we talk a lot about interdisciplinarity in terms of research policy. You don't need to take all of them, it's okay, just maybe one or two. But that it's still this view that it's poorly encouraged and rewarded. So the idea behind SHAPE ID is that it's a 2.5-year coordination and support action, and it will address the challenge of improving interdisciplinary research cooperation, specifically between the arts, humanities, social science disciplines, and other primarily STEM, science, technology, engineering, medicine disciplines. And we are tasked at the end of these 2.5 years with delivering a set of recommendations, including a toolkit and a short policy brief, a guide for policymakers, funders and researchers, looking at how they might achieve more successful integration among these disciplines. Now, this is something that we know the European Commission has been talking about for a long time, and I think some of us in the room have probably already contributed reports and other work to these debates, but I think they recognise that they still haven't sorted out this problem, and this seems to be at the heart of why they're funding the SHAPE ID project, looking at how we shape interdisciplinary practices in Europe. I've talked a little bit about the partners involved already. In terms of the stakeholders that we hope to reach, our key stakeholders are the policymakers and funders within the European research area. They are our target audience for the outputs from this project. But also researchers themselves, specifically across the AHSS disciplines, I think, the research performing organisations and the research users. But we are recognising that this is a very ambitious set of stakeholders, and our focus and our priority will be on the policymakers and funders. We have a number of objectives. We are starting by reviewing existing research, contributing to our understanding of interdisciplinary research. We're looking at how we work with stakeholders to understand good practice so that we can then co-produce some recommendations. We are looking to produce and validate a knowledge framework for successful AHSS integration based on the evidence we've gathered. Now, these are coordinating and supporting actions, so it's a synthesis activity. It's not necessarily new research, but it's looking to bring together existing research. So I'm sure some of the work that INTREPID and colleagues here have done will be contributing to that. And Christian will talk a little bit about that in a moment. As I said, our key outputs will be a toolkit and recommendations, and we're looking at how, at the moment, we're looking at our communication plan and how we build and maintain a strong stakeholder network so that we ensure dissemination. Now, those of you who are familiar with European projects will be very familiar with this work package structure. You're rolling your eyes, Olivia, again. So we're just going to talk briefly about the key work packages. So Christian is responsible for work package 2, which is the evidence scanning. I'm responsible for the final work package 5, which is to produce the toolkit and recommendations. And in between, we have a series of learning case workshops, which Carlos Sessa will be leading. And the integration and validation package, work package 4, will involve road testing some of our findings with an expert panel. And so colleagues such as Julie Klein, who will be known to INTREPID as an advisor to INTREPID, will also be joining that panel. I'm going to hand over to Christian at this point just to talk a little bit about work package 2, because I think it's maybe an opportunity to encourage all of you to contribute your knowledge, and we're keen that we don't want to miss any key reports, particularly among the grey literature perhaps, which is quite difficult to access.
The work package 2 is, I think that's the one where we are really working right now, besides the webpage and all the administration and coordination, and Bianca Wenny is doing that. And this is because already in September we have to provide a report on evidence scanning. And so currently we are together with colleagues from Poland who do digital humanities or so. I mean, they do a lot of quantitative research. We are trying to do a literature review again about, and then it starts already, what is integration, what is arts, what is social sciences, what is humanities, what is STEM exactly, about all papers, English papers, Web of Science more or less, that address the collaboration, co-production of knowledge, integration, choose whatever word you like, between arts and STEM, social sciences and STEM, and the humanities and STEM. That's basically how we are currently trying to work through this field. And based on that, we want to have a basis for the learning workshops we do. We want to have a basis for interviews. Jack wants to do a number of interviews with scholars in that field, and so that we then can come up with the proposals for the EU Commission. So I'm not sure if you have any kind of literature that you think might be interesting for us that we should see, that the European Commission should see, then please contact me directly and send the reference or whatever to me, and I'll send it to Bianca. Shall we go on with the work packages? I mean, I can do that too. What would you like?
I mean, I think Carlo may talk a little bit. He's leading on these
Yes.
workshops, but this will be the next stage, so we have workshops coming up.
Yes. I think we have workshops in 5 countries, in the 5 countries that are involved, and the goal of the workshop is to start with what we have in the literature review. So what are the obstacles and factors that hinder or help this integration or this collaboration? And then we want to run in each country workshops with 26 selected experts to discuss, go more into the details. One will be in Edinburgh, one will be in Italy, one in Poland, one in Zurich, and one in Ireland. I think that's it. So you might be contacted from us, depending on which country you are from. And then we have work package 4, which is basically what you said, a group of experts that validates our findings. Also, I think at some earlier, it's all under development. Also in earlier drafts, it seemed like they want to look at the wording, for instance, of calls. So how does the wording of the way of how a call is written, how does that, hinder somebody from the arts, social sciences, or humanities to apply? I think that's, or the wording and the framing, so to say, right? Not sure whether they'll do that. And then in the last work package, and that's basically yours, where we come up with the recommendation, whatever form those recommendations will have. We'll see that. Right. And then apparently we have a huge, we had to write a huge dissemination report, 25 pages submitted today, next day, I don't know. Now we're trying to, and this had to be under stress, this report had to be submitted. And now I think we are trying to work backwards, trying to develop something like theories of change or pathways of impact. So who do we actually want to reach by, with what messages? But I think that's all coming later. And currently we're just stressed. Yes. So that was a very brief introduction to the Shape Idea project, the first seed.
Thanks a lot. That's really exciting to see this already up and running, even before we put the final word on Intrepid. A few points. First, I'm so happy that you're going to put arts in the picture, because it actually is really important, and I'd love to talk to you about this afterwards also. Secondly, I'm thinking for the case studies, would it not be reasonable to ask Intrepid participants anyway whether they want to do in their countries a parallel process? You have a methodology basically that you will apply in your 5 countries, and maybe we could expand that and do it in other countries as well and provide additional input. If that's worthwhile, why not? Let's consider that as a possibility. And I'm not talking about the funding, but if you can give us the method, we can probably run it, for example. And there was another issue that I've now forgotten, so it's not important. Thank you.
So I think that's a great idea. At the end, it's Carlo who decides work package leader. We don't have the method yet. We will develop that, but I think that's a great idea, yes.
So this is the next step in the project. We're very much still in the startup phase. And in June, we will go to Rome, hosted by Isinova, to talk about the design of these workshops. And this is something that we're all thinking about at the moment, because we want them to be attractive. What would attract somebody, for example, who works in a research institute or a research funder to come and give us basically 2 days of their time to participate in a workshop when they come from the arts and humanities? So we need to think about how we market these a little bit, I think, because I think Jane Ohlmeyer quite rightly said at our kick-off meeting in Leuven, we need to be very mindful about how we reach these types of audiences, because clearly if they're not currently engaged in the dialogue, there's a reason for that. So it's something that's definitely under consideration at the moment. So yeah, that would be a helpful suggestion.